Hello, everyone. A very good evening to everyone who is joining us live this Sunday evening. I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday and now here with us to watch a fruitful episode of Pick a Book Sri Lanka. I welcome all of you to the flip side segment of Pick a Book Sri Lanka, which is today we're having the corporate edition. And while I welcome all of you, let me introduce myself first. My name is Ashinsani Veerasinghe, and I will be the moderator for this session today. So before I move forward, I would like to talk a bit about the Pick a Book Sri Lanka. So they encourage the reading habit by getting all the participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary, which also helps to hone his or her public speaking, communication, and presentation skills. And by doing this, Pick a Book Sri Lanka not only inculcates the habit of reading, but also helps to impart a wealth of knowledge. The objective of this flip side webinar series is to get the individual opinions and perspectives and also to share the lessons from outstanding books. Now, talking about outstanding books, you're well aware about the books we'll be getting into discussion today. So, the two books are the first one is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life, which was done by Francis Miralles and Hector Garcia. The second book we'll be talking about is Think Like a Monk, Train Your Mind for Peace and Purpose Every Day, which is written by Jay Shetty. Now, these two books are personally two of my favorite books as well, so I'm also very excited for this session today. Now, let's talk about the presenters. We have two people to present this, and let me first introduce the first presenter who will be presenting Ikigai book, Sachini De Silva. While we have her on board, let me introduce her in this case. Sachini is a digital payments enthusiast currently working as head of UPay at SCB Bank. She has done her bachelor's and master's in Australia and lived and worked in Melbourne and London for 12 years before she has come back to Sri Lanka in 2016. She likes to read non-fiction, especially books that will help develop her skills and books on history and different countries. She is a mentor at SDB Pick a Book Club as well. Her hobby and passion is traveling to other countries and exploring different cultures. A very good evening to you, Sachini.
Hi, thank you for having me here, Ashi.
It's great to have you here today as well. Now, let me introduce the next presenter we have today, Relin Athakorala. She is a strategic marketer. Currently, she is working as a strategic relationship manager in a startup called Gifter.lk, where it defines life is real. She is a member and a student of Chartered Institute of Marketing UK as well. She is also the chairperson for Pick the Book in Inspire X Digital. She likes to read any book of any genre which challenge her to improve new habits, evolve as a spiritual being, and serve the community. Her hobbies are currently writing, photography, videography, and learning and experiment new trends in digital marketing. A very good evening to you as well, Relin. How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening to you, Ashi. It's really good to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure to host both of you today. So, without wasting much time, let's dig into the books we have today, and those are very popular two books bestsellers we have. So, first, I would like to start with Relin about the Think Like a Monk book. What do you think author's purpose was in this book?
I would like to start like this bit explaining about the author, who he was and who he is. Actually, Jay Shetty is a normal person like all of us. And it says that when he, until he was 14 years old, he was a really obedient kid to his family. At the same time, in his college, but in his secondary school, in his high school, he has changed a lot with he has changed a lot during in his secondary school time period by uh, engaging with a wrong crowd. He says he experimented drugs and doing all the bad stuff in school, and he started. Uh, he was suspended 3 times from his school because of his bad behavior. And then uh, after that, he learned a lesson, and he wanted to really change back to the good person. And he determined himself that he's gonna do good in college as well. So actually, what he did, and at some point, one of his friends comes and invite him to join to a seminar, which is held by a monk, giving life lessons. But Jay Shetty was really, backward at that time, because he really wanted to associate people who have achieved something in life. Even according to my opinion, like, if we say that I want to go and talk to a monk, I will hesitate, because that is my perception inside my head, that okay, I don't have to go and talk to someone who doesn't have an experience about normal life and who hasn't achieved anything. So the same thing happened to Jay Shetty. He hesitated, but with a lot of convincing, he went and joined to this session. The session was held by a monk called Gaurang Das. The moment that strike Jay Shetty's the thought pattern was, the monk explained that we should plant trees under whose shade we did not plan to sit. So which really strike Jay Shetty, that this monk is not just a person who doesn't have a value. So at the same time, he realized that Gaurang Das was like, he had a previous life where he is well educated from MIT and got a great opportunity, which is rare, but still he had refused to take that opportunity and become a monk. So it's either stupidity, or maybe it's because for a purpose. So with that, lot of thoughts are going inside of Jay Shetty, but he started following and associating Gaurang Das monk for so long, which leads Jay Shetty to be a monk for 4 years and experiment that life. So with that teaching and knowledge that he gained throughout that 4 years, and after he come back to the normal life, where he had to back again, deal with normal jobs and people and friends' opinions. Through this book, what he tries to explain to us is how he manages normal life back again by implementing this monk's thinking. So,
Okay.
so the purpose of Jay Shetty is to make us also well aware about the wisdom, how to manage our life, the ordinary life that we are spending day to day, to have a more meaningful and purposeful life. Yeah, that's
I
the
think
purpose.
that brings everything into a foundation that we are setting before we start the conversation about Think Like a Monk book. You very well explained like the purpose and the reason of this book coming live to public by Jay Shetty. Along with that, I would like to move to Sachini as well to talk about Ikigai, the Japanese way for a long and happy life book. How did this book come to be, Sachini?
Yeah, so Ashi, Hector Garcia and Francis Morales, they're the authors of Ikigai. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right, but they're both Spanish. And Hector Garcia has been living in Japan for over 10 years, right? And he was introduced to Francis Morales, who's another author, through mutual
I think we are having a small technical issue. Sachini, are you still there? Okay, Relin, am I audible and visible to you?
Yes, yes, Ashi.
Okay, I think while Sachini comes back, we will continue with the Think Like a Monk book itself. So, moving forward, now you definitely set the foundation to understand why this book, the purpose of this book, and the purpose of the author, literally. So, let's talk a bit about the book. Really, like, explain why this book is really called Think Like a Monk. You said the initial foundation, but do you really think we should think like monks after reading this book?
Okay, actually, this question was asked from me by one of my friends as well.
Okay.
So I actually thought through: do we really should we really think like monks, and why this book is called Think Like Monk? So for the answer is, according to my opinion, if an engineer gives us advice or wisdom to have a peaceful and purposeful, anxiety-free, happy life by using engineering theories and practices, we can call this book as Think Like an Engineer. It's the same as scientists. If someone from that field written the book using scientific things and to achieve more peaceful and purposeful life, then we can call this as a Think Like a Scientist. But this book is written by someone who had the experience of being a monk. So I think that's why this is called Think Like a Monk. There can be much more bigger definitions and explanations rather than me explaining that, but that is my opinion. And do we really have to think like monks? No, we don't have to really think like monks. But according to Wisconsin Madison research, set of researchers have done a research using a monk whose name is Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche. He's from Nepal. He had the experience of doing meditation for 62,000 hours throughout his lifetime. And these researchers put a device to his head and observed the mind waves of this monk to observe how their actions are going on. So they realized that this monk was 41 years old at that time, but just found he had a brain of 10-year younger person than his actual age, which has reduced his aging as well. So this monk, because of his day-to-day life cycle, these meditations and all. And I would like to ask, do you know who's the happiest world's happiest person on earth? I will say that his name is Matthew Ricard. The researchers have found that he has the highest gamma waves that any research has found throughout the history, that he had the highest gamma waves in terms of attention and memory. So it explains the scientific explanations, gives how well the monks' minds are set. Then anyone could turn back and say that, okay, the monks doesn't have a normal life. They don't have to deal with family members. They don't have to deal with jobs, day-to-day life, and they have full free time to go ahead in their
Mhm.
peaceful life. But actually,
Correct.
they are not born as monks.
Mhm.
So that's the question. That's the point, because they were really, they were born to normal families, but they become monks because they saw something different. uh, they wanted to follow something different, so that's why they became monks. The biggest one of the examples is that Matthew Ricard was a former biological person. He was a former biologist, but he's the world's happiest man right now, being a monk. So I would say that uh, the the the
It's an
the
experience.
yes, it's a mindset that we all
Yeah.
can adopt. It's not just a way that it doesn't mean that I should become a monk, and it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I should think like a monk, but it's just a method
Yeah.
where it is easy to adopt. So that's the question, the answer for that question.
I think just like you mentioned, it's all about the mindset and setting it right. So in form of how a monk would think, it's not just about being a monk itself. From what you mentioned, really. So now
Yeah.
I think Sachini is back. So moving into the first question as well, Sachini, we'll start from the beginning since there was a bit of an interruption. So how did
Yeah.
this book, Ikigai, Japanese way for long and happy life, come into being?
Hi, sorry, Ashi, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. So,
No problem.
anyway,
These things happen.
yeah, so Hector Garcia and Francis Morales are the authors of this book. They're both Spanish and they were introduced by mutual friends. And Hector Garcia, who's been living in Japan for over 10 years, um,
Okay.
when Francis Morales went on holiday to Tokyo, they met at a cafe and they started talking about, all things Japan, the culture, the people, what they do, so on and so forth, right? And then they started talking about an island called Okinawa, a Japanese island that has the highest number of over 100-year-olds in the world, right? So they
Okay.
one in five people in this island uh, reaches to be over 100 or at least 100 in this island, which is the highest in the world, right?
Yeah.
And like compared to other cities, they have three times more over 100-year-olds. So they found that very fascinating and remarkable. So then they start talking about what these people do or what they did differently or what their secret for a long and happy life was. So then they come across the concept of ikigai. So
Okay.
then they try to do some research on ikigai, and they found out that there was not a lot of written or researched material on this subject, even though the Japanese people have been practicing this for centuries, right? So then they thought, okay, this is a great opportunity for them to do some research and write about the secret of to a long and happy life. So then they set up a team and they go to Okinawa. So it's an island closer to Taiwan, even though it's a part of Japan, right? So the authors say that from the time they landed at the airport, they could see that the people were, like people were just generally happy and they were not in a rush. It was a very slow paced city, and they were all, just really stress free or just looked a bit more chilled out than people in Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
So they ended up, that whole team ended up staying in Okinawa for over a year, doing hundreds of interviews, and actually following like these people, monitoring and observing what they do in their day-to-day lives, and what the reason was to for their long life, and what ikigai really was. So this book is actually a summary of all those interviews and all that research they did. So it is very interesting because it's very factual, and you can easily
Real
relate.
life experiences.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I think
So
that's what matters. The real life experience of both the books. Yeah, sorry, Sachin.
yeah, no. So and then they published it in 2016 in Spanish,
Okay.
and immediately it became a hit in Spain. And in
Ah,
2017, Penguin UK publishes it in English, and it immediately becomes a hit in the world, around the world, right? And now it's translated in so many languages. In fact, I found the Tamil translation audiobook on YouTube, and yesterday I went to Sarasavi at One Golf Face, and
okay.
as you enter, they've displayed the Sinhala translation of Ikigai.
Oh,
uh,
nice.
so it's still quite popular, and it's still relevant
Yeah.
here in Sri Lanka as well.
Hmm. I think, yeah, just like I mentioned before, both the books are talking about real life experiences. Now, Jay Shetty's experiences are different, and this is a combination of how a lot of people have lived and they've done research about it. And
Correct.
this, I think it's important for us also to know, because we are into hectic life and we keep complaining about life, saying, what is happiness? And, we keep sharing all of these whining quotes here and there. But if you really read these books, I think there's a wealth of knowledge, and you can put into practice things that you can put into practice as well. Now,
Absolutely.
Akli, I would like to understand the concept ikigai. What is it?
Okay, so ikigai, there's no direct translation to the word ikigai, right? But if
Okay.
you separate the two, like iki means life or alive, right? And gai means value, reason, or your. So if you put it together, it's your reason for living, your reason for being, right? So what motivates you to wake up in the morning? Kind of a meaning. That's what ikigai means, right? So I was, and if you actually, like, when I was reading it, and I stopped to ask myself, so what is my purpose in life, or
Yeah.
what does it really mean, right? And actually I was quite surprised, but I didn't have a quick answer to that, right? Like, I had to really think through, and I was reading this book during lunch at work, and there was a girl seated next to me. So I asked her, so what did you, if I asked you what your purpose of life was, what would be your answer? And she looked at me first of all, like, why are you asking me these questions during lunch? And second, she was like, actually, I don't know, Sachin. Like, if you ask me what the reason for waking up in the morning is, like, I really wish I could stay in bed and not having to wake up at all, right? So, okay, I was like, okay. So then I asked another guy who works in my team. I was like, so, what motivates you to come to work? Like, what was your reason for waking up? And then he was like, oh, it's actually, Sachini, it's you. I wanted to come here before you got here so that I won't be in trouble, right? So no one really had a proper answer for this question. So I asked
Yeah.
my mother, I asked a few of my friends, and my husband was the only one who had a very straight answer. He was like, oh, it's very easy. It's my family, And even before you, like me, before my son and I, he was like, it was his parents and his brothers. He was the only one who actually had a proper answer. So, anyway, so the Japanese believe that it is very important that you find your purpose, or you find your own reason for living. And they think that if you actually take some time to dig deeper within yourself, or spend some time to actually figure that out, it will bring you greater satisfaction and contentment. Like, you truly be happy, and that will help you to live a happy and long life. So
Okay. So
this
I
is
would like to
what it
disturb
is.
you. I would like to disturb you right there, just to ask now. When you finished, we have a lot to talk about, but when you finished the book, or while you were reading through the chapters, did you really find a purpose, or was it like therapeutic for you to read it? And were you able to really find a purpose?
I actually
Brief
did,
answer.
I actually
Oh,
did,
okay.
because I read it during the last lockdown. So
Okay.
I did, yes.
Oh, that's nice. So I
Because it
think
actually tells you, sorry, it actually tells you how to find it. It's, it gives you the tools to how to find it. So,
oh, that's nice.
yeah.
I think that by reading that book, you find your own therapist, sort of, and then you find your way and the purpose of living.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
Pretty interesting. Now, moving into Think Like a Monk book again. Relin, what was your favorite chapter in the book, or favorite chapter versus the most significant chapter of the book? Would you like to say, talk about it?
Okay. Actually, I think all the parts of this book is really, heart touching. Like heart touching means like really important
Okay.
for me, because each part is covering some stage of our lives. So
Okay.
to give you an brief intro, like uh, this book has three parts. First
Mhm.
is letting go, second is grow, and third is give. So
Okay.
in the most I would like, each part is really important for me, but I will for to explain, I need to give something to others as well to explain. uh, I would like to take the first part, which is let go,
Letting. Okay.
letting go. So it has four subsections. First one is identity. Second one is negativity. Third one is uh, fear, and fourth one is intention. So how I remember these are really, really important. So identity is all about who we really are. Have we really discovered ourselves first, which is really important to find our own purpose in life. So there are few examples that Jay Shetty is giving us through the book as well. One is like once when he was in ashram, Gaurandas says, think that you are in a dusted room, uh, which is not used, where there are old books piled up, and there's a mirror which is full of dust, and a senior monk comes and asks you to look through the mirror and say what you see. Then Joshua says, okay, I can't see anything because there's dust all around. So the takeaway is the dust is like the other's opinion on us, and the definition of who we should be on others' opinion. So even in the society right now, uh, there's a huge topic that is the beauty. You should be beautiful if you have this kind of a nose, or you could have this type of an eyes, like that. So people are tend to change themselves to get the approval from others opinion. So there's an example back again. There was an actor who's really famous called Day Lewis. He got 3 times best actor awards.
Okay.
How he practices, how he prepare himself before acting is, when he get the script of that character, he goes and live that character for months. This neighborhood, like he prepares himself with the same neighborhood, like that, and
Oh.
he go into deep to that. So that's how he got succeed. So this is called method acting. At a conference, he says it makes him crazy to be someone who he is not
He's
actually. because so in a way we all are method actors. We are not truly ourselves. We just try to adjust ourselves according to others' perspective. So this identity is really important. We have to figure out. So it's easy for us to figure this out by knowing what are our values. So in this book, Jay Shetty shows us how to figure out our values. Like value systems are coming from our school, our parents. It can be some life-changing event like that. So it's really important to figure out our values as well. So next part is I would like to explain is the negativity. Jay Shetty says that negativity is everywhere. When you woke up from the morning and when you look through your social media, the Facebook and Instagram, you see a lot of bad news all around the world. And maybe there can be simple things like you're out of milk powder at home, again negativity, and going back, going to work, again you might find some negative stuff everywhere. So it's everywhere. It's because from my childhood, I have heard, don't be negative, be positive. So I tend to think that it was in me that I'm a negative person. I thought that I'm a negative person, but it's with everyone. It's everywhere, and it's contagious as well. So Jay Shetty explains that even in our workplaces, there are a lot of negative stuff happening around. Like let's say if someone during lunchtime, if someone comes and complain about another employee, you tend to feel bad about that person. So that opinion, that negative opinion comes to you, and you start to think negative about that person. So it's contagious. So JST again shows us that it's not only with the corporate culture or normal life, but it's the same with the monastery as well, where he got into a situation where a monk comes and complained to him about how he couldn't have a better sleep, where food is not good in the monastery, like that. So Jay Shetty was, he's trying to be good. He doesn't want to take this negativity into his life, but the result was Jay Shetty went and complained about that monk to his friends. So again, it passes through Jay Shetty. So this negativity is contagious. So in this book, he tells how we should remove this negativity or be away from this negativity, how to handle it. There are two factors that he explains, which is external negativity, how to reverse it, and how to reverse the internal negativity. I will tell how to reverse the internal negativity, which is called you have to spot it first, then you have to stop, and then you have to swap. Spot it means when you are in a negative situation, let's say you are really angry with someone, and you know that you are angry because your breathing level goes up and your facial expression changes. So you can observe yourself and learn that, okay, I'm angry right now. So what he says is stop at that moment. Don't act, don't react to it. Just stay calm and breathe. So and try to recognize why this anger is coming to you. Is it because of the jealousy, like that? So it's nicely explained in this book. And then you have to swap at the end. You have to swap the reaction after you recognize your internal feelings, why this is coming, and like that. So you have to swap the reaction. You can the way you show it. It's nicely explained there. And the next thing is the fear. why I took this chapter is because this is something that I am in. Even before I joined into this session, I felt really, nervous, and I'm really, afraid that I might do something really not suitable here. So fear is different. Uh, it comes with different factors, but here he says that fear is because we are too much attached to something. We are attached to affection, we are attached to fame, we are attached to money, we are attached to physical things. So the answer is detachment.
Yeah.
But we all are being told that detachment is something, we have to give up on everything. But that is not the true meaning of detachment. Jeshadi says detachment is not that you own nothing, it is that nothing owns you. So we have to, that part really enlightened my mind, that okay, that it doesn't mean that I have to give up on my life, normal life, the careers and all those things. It means that even I'm left without that, I'll be okay because it doesn't own me, because because I am me and I have me, like something like that. So those are the parts that I would like to explain. Yeah.
I think you took us to a whole new level. You took us to the book itself, Relin. So thank you so much. There was a nice flow. I didn't even want to disturb you because you took us through all the chapters, right, Sachini? I think you would agree with me. You
Yeah,
just,
absolutely. I want to
yeah,
buy this book now.
yeah. I think you just sold the book for us.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's actually interesting
Okay.
because now what you mentioned about waking up and going on social media, and then you put a definition for yourself that which you really shouldn't, because you're not really being yourself at some point. And talking about these feelings, I think good that now I'm impressed I had this conversation today, because when I woke up today I saw this quote on Instagram where it said, whenever a problem comes, the problem is not, there's no problem, the problem is you, because it's how you react and it's what you think. I think I was thinking about it the whole day, because whenever I get hurt, you should feel the fact that there's nobody to hurt you, but it's just yourself. You're just putting yourself through that, right? And
Yeah.
along with that thinking, these two books are bringing everything of life together with purpose, contentment, and something to live for. So I think everyone who's watching us right now, by now you must have got an idea of how important these two books already are, and the impact it can put on your life as well. Now, moving into Sachini, I would like to ask about Ikigai. What is your favorite part of this book? What is your favorite chapter, rather?
Yeah, so first of all, Ashi, I want to tell you that every chapter in this book will add value to your life, right? Like, so even if you just open the book and you just start reading somewhere, every page has something very important, right? Because it touches upon, I mean, there's a summary of it where there's like 10 rules of Ikigai, and this each rule is very relevant, like I keep saying, to your
Yeah,
life. So
yeah.
my, I think, favorite is the first chapter. It's called The Art of Staying Young While Growing Old, right? I know it sounds like an advert for some anti-aging product, or like Botox or something, but what it actually talks about is how you find purpose inside within yourself, so that it comes out externally, and how everything around you will align to keep you happy. and live longer, right? First of the chapter starts with a diagram of how to find your ikigai. So it talks about the four important things in finding the your ikigai. It is so ikigai is the intersection of what you love, one, two, what the world needs, three, what you can get paid for, and four, what you're good at, right? So if you draw these four circles and if you intersect each other, the middle part, the intersection, is your ikigai, right? There's a lot of material out there that talks about how to do it yourself and explaining this further, but just for time's sake, I will just go on, because if
Yeah.
I go into that's a whole new story, right? Then it goes on to say, whatever you do, don't retire. So Japanese don't believe in retiring. In fact, there is no Japanese word equivalent for retirement, because you know how the Western world is so obsessed with, like, retire at 30 or plan for retirement, or how do you retire early. There are so many books and videos, and they're so obsessed about retiring, right? But in the Japanese, in Japan, what they say is, don't retire, just keep doing what you love, right? Because that will give you meaning to your life, and that will give you purpose to your life. Because as soon as you lose that, then you're not living to your fullest, right? So what they say is, always find that something that you absolutely love, so you just don't feel the need to retire, because
Yeah.
you're doing what you love. Like, if you, for example, Ashil, now let's say if you're watching a movie that you love, right? It's called a state of flow, where you're so engrossed, even if someone is talking to you, you will not hear it, because you're so you're loving the movie you're watching. But let's say if you had to study, like, during school time or whatever exams you had to study, you go and start studying, and in 5 minutes you'll check your phone, you take a bathroom break, you'll go for a snack, because you
Yeah.
just don't want to do it, right? What they're saying is, find that state of flow, so that way you will never need to retire. And then it talks about Okinawa, about, it gives a small summary of what the people do. And they talk about the 5 blue zones. So, like I said, Okinawa has the highest number of over 100-year-olds. But if you list all other cities in the world, number one is Okinawa, Japan, and number two is Sardinia, Italy. Number three is Loma Linda in California. Four is the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. And five is Ikaria in Greece. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these names right. But and it and it gives a small summary of what each what people in each of these cities, in these countries, do, that gives them that long life. And then further, they talk about the 80% secret, right? Which is, it's about your eating habits. So,
Okay.
you know how, Ashi, when you're hungry, they say, when you're eating, eat up to 80% of your, how much you want to eat, or 80% of your belly full. Now, how do you know if you've eaten up to 80%? Is, when you're eating, when you're eating, you that moment when you feel like, okay, you're starting to fill up, you stop, right? But what we do is we continue to eat, or until we
Yeah.
can't breathe,
The
whatever, right?
foodies.
So yeah. So they talk about this 80% secret. And
Okay.
last of all, they talk about Moai. I think that's what they call Moai. Is there are so many little communities, right? Like, they're like little teams, that or little groups that play games together, that does the, like, walking, dancing, or
Okay.
cooking. But there are little kind of groups, right? And there are so many of those little groups in Okinawa. And these people, like, in the morning, in their daily routine, they'll meet up in these groups, at least 4 or 5 groups per day, right? Like, in the morning they'll go for a walk with a different group, then they'll do their farming with a separate group, then they'll have a gardening group, and in the evening they go dancing. So like little groups where it's like little communities, unrelated, unofficial little communities where they
Oh,
get together to do things. So how being a part of this group can also really help you live a long life. So that's what the first chapter talks about.
okay, that's pretty interesting because I think all of us have different sets of friends, and they say, have friends who will support your future. So I think we all have, different focus groups. Now, pick a book; it's a group to read, right? So if you
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that with the purpose of life, so that keeps you driving with that set of people, so that's something interesting. I should also read that book. Now coming into Relin, I think we have a bit more time, so let's just talk about how did reading Think Like a Monk change you or your views, if you can just brief.
Yeah, so I would say that rather than changing me, it added a lot of values to my life.
Great.
Because the people who knows me knows that I used to do meditations, but not in hours and hours, but some practices. So this helped me to know that the JSHT is trying to create a community, like you said, uh, which is really well aware about what is right, because people normalize what is not right nowadays. So one of the examples in this week is that one of the famous actress show, she described one of the young TikTokers who was being killed as a normal thing, so which is really bad. So this world really needs people like Jay Shetty, who's trying to make good things viral. So the impact on me was that I am so confident right now, because what we need to do is to cultivate these good habits. So it gave me the back support to be more like that, be me, be
The
myself.
book became a pillar of strength, is it?
Yes, yes.
That's amazing. So I think the people you associate, what I gather from what you say is, it's not just about because after you read the book, or it's all about, like both the books I'm talking about, it's about the mindset and how you practice certain things, and it's all about a change in the behavior as well, right? Thinking patterns, a change in thinking and change in behavior, that's how this whole contentment of life, mindfulness comes into place. Keeping that aside for a while, I would like to move into Sachini about Ikigai. Now, they speak about 10 rules of Ikigai. Would you like to speak a bit about it, Sachini?
Yeah, I'll just go through the rules. So if in like I said, the 10 rules is pretty much a summary of
Okay.
this whole book, right? So it starts with number one is stay active and don't retire. So this is pretty much what they touched based on in the first chapter, right? It's keep going, because if you lose purpose in your life, that will demotivate you, right, in general. So always keep doing something, and even if you retire from your official job, always find something else that you can do to others, because that is something very important to keep you going, right? And the second rule is take it slow, right? Stop being in a hurry, like stop rushing now. And this is so relevant to me because I'm one of those people who needs everything done like yesterday, and I'm always in a rush. I take pride in multitasking, and it's very
I
good
think
for
I'm
me.
part of that club as well.
Yeah, and even though we don't see it, a lot of people can get irritated with this
Yeah,
with
us
this
being
like,
Monica.
yeah, so like I take pride in multitasking because I can do five things at a time, And I'm like, so in this book, it actually says if you are doing more than one thing at a time, that means you're not doing something 100%. Right. So it actually says take, and it's proven, like there's research done on it, and it's proven that you're not doing something 100%. So, these are things that really helped me. Right. And then 3 is don't fill your stomach. Like I said, eat up to 80% and eat healthy, and eat, like it talks about, there's a chapter dedicated to eating the veggies and the fruits, so on. And 4 is surround yourself with good friends. And they say friends are the best medicine, and that you must have friends to have a good cry, to have a good laugh, but to share your life. And 5 is get in shape for your next birthday. So it says every year you must try to improve yourself, right? As you get older, you shouldn't let go of yourself, but you must try to be healthier than your last birthday, right? And it doesn't talk about like hardcore exercising, like cross training, or I mean, no,
Yeah.
nothing against it, but it talks about slow and consistent movement, right? Like yoga, Pilates, and just walking, or doing things on a daily basis to keep yourself active. And number 6 is smile. What they say is to have a cheerful attitude, right? And if you smile, you trick your brain to think you're actually happy. So it says even if you're going to, like, you're angry at something and you're upset, just smile. Force yourself to smile, because it'll trick your brain to think you're okay, right? And number 7 is reconnect with nature. So it says human beings need nature to refresh themselves, right? To re-energize. So they say if you have a small garden, even if it's a small garden, remove your slippers and go for a walk. Like, just go up and down in the morning. And if you're living in an apartment, go to the window or go to your balcony and look at the clouds, look at the greenery, and connect to nature. And every day to spend some time to do this, because that will really energize you, right? And 8 is give thanks. And it says, like, give thanks to everything, to your ancestors, to nature, to the food you eat, your friends, your family, and for being able to do what you do, right? So give thanks to everything and to make it a daily habit, right? And 9 is live in the moment. So stop regretting about anything you've done, and don't be anxious about the future, but just live in the moment and just be happy with what you have, and try to make the most out of the day you have now, like the power of now, pretty much. And 10 is, of course, follow your ikigai, because there's a passion in everyone, and that will help you to move on. And it says if you don't have your ikigai now, or you haven't sorted it out, make it your mission to find your ikigai. So those are the 10 rules of ikigai.
I think that sums up the whole book, and very
Pretty much.
inspiring set of very inspiring set of rules as well. Now, what I left on the side before about the change of behavior, I think now our generation, we actually try finding it in our times, right? But if our parents really put that into our heads way before, that's where a real change of behavior and life could have also happened. Don't you agree?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now we come into the world. Pretty impressed about our generation as well, because we now come, we test things, we take risks, and we try and test things and figure out, okay, this is what life is, and this is what I need to do. Now, for example, reading these books and identifying the purpose of life. But for we have parents or watching this right now, and if we have kids as well, it's something that we have to keep in mind, so that we give them the proper upbringing along these lines, right? Because when we grew up, there is a set of policies around us with culture, tradition, and just like how it's mentioned in Think Like a Monk book, the dust in the mirror. Right?
Yes.
So the mirror is already dusted for us. While we come out of school, try to figure out life on our own, it's already dusted. So this is why we say, even through these kind of sessions from Pick a Book Sri Lanka, they impart the wealth of knowledge so that you could apply for yourself and for future generations. So
Yes.
that, even for example, the ninth rule you spoke about, live in the moment,
Yes.
where you try to think so many times. Even now for us, we know, okay, we are going to live in the moment, but don't we get those dust to our heads, culture, tradition, and this is what the parents would think, this is what the society would think. This is something which has to be processed.
Yes, and Ashi, we are very lucky because we live in a generation where we have access to this wealth of knowledge, right? Whereas in
True.
our parents, yes, not to discount anything, not to discount their knowledge
Yeah.
or what they know, but we have access to a lot more through the internet, through sessions like these, webinars, and all of this sort, that we can obviously do to improve ourselves and, like you said, pass on to our kids.
Yeah, that's how the real change of behavior and life happens, and the youngsters can really enjoy better than we did. I mean, leaving the world as a better place should be everyone's target or the mission at the end of the day. So coming
Yes.
into the last two questions for both of you, I would like to ask Relin, if you get a chance to talk to the author, that is Jay Shetty, and if you get a chance to ask one question from Jay Shetty, what would that be?
Okay. There will be few, but I will ask, like, I asked from from my mentors as well, like what would be the next book that he's gonna recommend to me to read, because I know that most of his inspirations came from Bhagavad Gita, uh, which is considered as the universal, guides to have a better life. So,
Yeah.
other than that, I would like to know what is the next book. Is he gonna give us another book which will make wisdom go viral? Yeah.
That's interesting. With that, Sachini, now coming into the last question for you. What sort of an impact did this guy have on you, in brief?
Like I said, there was little things that obviously changed a lot, but I think the main one was that I actually sat down and I tried to figure out what my ikigai was, right? And
Okay.
and I realized, even though I'm still doing the same, I'm still working for the same place, but I realized I was in a different area altogether, right? So, here they say, how do you find your ikigai? Is you get a sheet of paper, you divide it into equal four parts. In the first one, you write what you love. Second one, what the world needs. Third one, what you can be paid for, and for what you're good at, right? So what I loved is, I'm a very digital person. Like, everything in my life is in an app. I look for convenience in everything I do. So that was, that there were lots of things that I love, like movies and so on and so forth. And then, what does the world need? So, like I said, I read this book during the first lockdown, and I knew that digital was the way forward. Let it be digital marketing, let it be, all of these other things that you can do, like technology development, like software
Yeah.
engineering and all that parts, right? And then, what can I get paid for, right? Because in this book it says, while a lot of books say money is not important, in this book it says, if you don't have money to cater to your basic needs, not to have a lavish life, but to
Yeah.
cater to your basic needs, you'll be stressed out, right? So you need to have the basic, income. And then, what you're good at, and I'm good at strategy, and I'm good at doing like businesses, even though my background is accounting and finance. So then
Yeah.
I realized, this is what I need to do. Even though I was working in finance and operations, I need to, in a digital area, but I need to focus on strategy and that sort of thing. So as a result, I've changed my role, and I feel like I'm in a much happier place now, because that reflects in your family. And now I actually allocate time for these things, and it really made a difference in my life. So I think that's how it really impacted me.
That's pretty much interesting. I think I haven't read these two books page to page, but I have gone through summaries because this has helped me in some of my work that I've done in trainings that I have done. I've had to go through this. So now I am curious to read from page to page from both the books because echoing what we spoke as well, it's so relevant to anyone. So I think for everyone who is watching us right now, you must have felt. And these two presenters, Ratin and Sachini, took us through a beautiful flow about both the books. So that's something really great. And I think we had a fruitful session today. Now the time has come for us to say goodbye. So thank you so much, Relin and Sachin, for joining with us on Sunday evening and sharing your perspectives and learnings from these outstanding books. Thank you, Relin. Thank you, Sachini.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
See
Thanks a
you.
lot, Archie.
My pleasure hosting both of you today. And thank you to everyone who watched us live as well and who are still there watching us. So, we spoke about the two lessons from two outstanding books. The first book is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Francis Miralles and Hector Garcia. And the second book was Think Like a Monk, Train Your Mind for Peace and Purpose Every Day by Jay Shetty. So thank you so much for joining. And this was a fruitful session. We achieved the purpose of Pick a Book Sri Lanka successfully today, which one is to change participants' sense of self through wonders of literature, and they inspire change. And this was an inspiring session today as well. So thank you so much for everyone who joined us with Pick a Book Sri Lanka Flipside, the corporate edition webinar series. We shall see you soon with another episode. My name is Ashin Sani. Thank you. Have a good night.